Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you are having a wonderful day when you are watching this. And welcome back to the CWS Season 4, Episode 23. So, we are going to be watching a show that I thought was lost to time. But I went to check YouTube a couple days ago, actually. And funny enough, it's here. So, we are going to be checking out WrestleFest from 1988. As far as I know, this show hasn't had any technical issues, so it should be the full show in its entirety. So I'm looking forward to it, I'm not going to lie. So, without any further ado, it is July 31st, 1988. We are in Milwaukee, Wisconsin at the Milwaukee County Stadium. We'll double check in a moment if the venue is still there. And in attendance are 25,866 people. So from the looks of it, it looks like we're in a baseball stadium from the looks of it. So our first matchup is going to be, whoever this person is in the ring, I believe his name is Scott Casey, taking on the Big Boss Man. So let's get to this one. So just for completionist sakes, the stadium is no longer here. But getting back to our reason why we are here, WrestleFest. So, Bossman versus Casey. This was your bog standard opening contest for the late 80s in WWF. It was a local jobber, it was a jobber taking on one of the more established stars. And this was the Big Boss Man's debut a couple of weeks, I believe a few months before this show. So, Bossman wins with the Bossman Slam, makes sense. So, yeah, just your typical matchup and general good showing. So next up we have got Brutus Beefcake versus Hercules. Let's get to this one. So we just had Beefcake versus Hercules, and this was an interesting matchup. It was a fun matchup. Beefcake wins with the sleeper hold, push into the corner, and then a roll up. And yeah, it was an interesting matchup because Hercules and Beefcake would feud a little bit further into the year. So yeah, it was just a fun, entertaining little matchup. So, if there's not really anything to know, it's not that it's bad, and it's not, like, one of the best matches ever. It's just okay. It's an okay matchup. So, next up, it's the fabulous Rougeau brothers taking on the Killer Bees. I think these guys are going to be buzzing about this matchup. I'll see myself out after the match. So, we just had the Fabulous Rougeaus versus the Killer Bees, and again, another interesting matchup. One of the first, a few tag team matches on this card, if I recall. But yeah, it's a fun matchup. It holds up. It's, the Rougeaus are good. I think Jacques is still wrestling to this day, like, as PCO. So, to see that he's still wrestling, like, in 2025, and this is, 1988, it's fucking impressive. And the Killer Bees are over. Killer Bees are like, they're getting the babyface cheer because the Rougeaus are the French Canadians. So yeah, it's interesting dynamic, interesting scenes, and it was just all round a fun matchup. The Killer Bees lose the match, unfortunately, after the Rougeaus do a double team. Basically, it was just a punch to the head, and one of the Killer Bees fell down, and that's how the Rougeaus win. But yeah, it was a fun, entertaining matchup. So our next one is going to be Bad News Brown versus Bret Hart. So let's get to this one. So Bad News Brown versus Bret Hart. This is fun. This is a tail off from WrestleMania 4, during the tournament, during the Battle Royal that they did. So they wanted to carry on the feud a little bit here. It was fun. Again, it's not really bad. Bad News Brown is a decent wrestler when you give him a little bit of time and the correct opponent. And, Bret being Bret, he's good as well in the ring. Bad News Brown actually wins with a roll-up after Bret tried to win with a roll-up. So, the old classic reversal roll-up, I liked. I thought it was a very interesting way to finish the matchup. Jim comes out to basically argue with the ref to basically say, he called for tights. But, again, the way the camera's positioned at the time, you didn't see Bad News Brown holding the tights, so it's a he says situation, but Bad News Brown gets the win. So, our next matchup is, the Honky Tonk Man versus Jim Duggan for the IC belt? Well, we know that Jim Duggan doesn't win, but let's see how he doesn't win. So, Jim Duggan versus Honky Tonk Man. The reason why I said Duggan doesn't win this, because this is during Honky Tonk Man's, the infamous IC title reign, which was eclipsed by, I can't remember who eclipsed it. I have to double check that one. But yeah, Duggan versus Honky Tonk Man. Again, match is good. It's entertaining. Mouth of the South Jimmy Hart is with Honky Tonk Man. And Honky Tonk grabs the leg of Jim Duggan to stop him from doing the 3-point stance. And that's how the match ends in disqualification. Again, decent matchup. Honky Tonk Man is in the title, his title reign and stuff like that. So it is very entertaining. And, Duggan's over because, again, it's America and he's holding the 2 before. And after the match, Honky Tonk Man tries to hit him with the guitar. He dodges it. He gets out. The guitar is still in the ring. So Duggan grabs the 2 before and just destroys the guitar to send the crowd home mildly happy. No, I'm joking. They cheered like fuck for it. So, who now? Oh, it's Boris Kluchtor and Nikolai Volkov, the Bolsheviks. I think I'm saying that right. If not, I'm very sorry. Taking on the Powers of Pain and they're being cheered? The fuck? Alright, I've got to watch this one second. Okay, just to confirm, it was Gunther. I was going to say Gunther, but I had to double check it. Gunther held it for 666 days, eclipsing eclipsing Honky Tonk Man's world title reign by like 100 and something days or something like that. Again, I'll double check it just now. So but again, Powers of Pain versus the Bolsheviks. Powers of Pain being cheered is very it's like, oh, okay, this is weird. Like, it's entertaining, don't get me wrong, but it's entertaining. So yeah, it was a fun matchup. It really did work well. And no matter what, it was a good matchup. It was really entertaining. Powers of Pain win with a power slam headbutt combination. So, who do we have now? Oh, Larry Poffo versus Jim Neidhart. Let's get to this one. Jim Duggan wins with the power slam. 1, 2, 3. It was like 2 minutes. So this is where it differs, I think, for the US and the UK broadcast. Because right now, I've got the WWF Championship matchup between Ted DiBiase versus Macho Man Randy Savage. So what I'm going to do is, I'll talk about the match now, and then we'll talk about the main event being, I think it's like Hogan Andre, I think, again. So, yeah, we'll talk about Ted DiBiase versus Macho Man. So, Randy Savage versus Ted DiBiase. This was a fun matchup. This was really good. Again, it's Randy Savage and Ted DiBiase. These guys have just faced off for the WWF Championship at WrestleMania 4 in the title in the WWF Championship tournament. So they're running it back here because DiBiase DiBiase deserved a title rematch. It was entertaining. It's good. Again, it's Savage and $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase. If these two fuck up in the match, holy shit, what is wrong with you? It was fun. It was an entertaining matchup, and having Liz and Virgil at ringside. Liz not getting involved, but Virgil getting involved. It kind of is that really good dynamic because Liz is just wanting Macho to win, and he does win with a roll-up. So, yeah, it was entertaining. So, now we have got Perfect versus Red Rooster. Let's get to this one. So, we just had Perfect versus the Red Rooster. This is weird because I've only known Mr. Perfect to wear the singlets that he had around the 90s. So to see him in just basic wrestling tights is it's such a juxtaposition for me because it's weird to see it. But again, it's Perfect versus Red Rooster. Perfect will be going on to become the Intercontinental Champion after beating, I believe it was Warrior at SummerSlam, if I recall. So yeah, this was just a straight up fun little matchup, and again, Perfect wins. So now we've got Jake Roberts versus Rick Rude. Oh, I'm looking forward to this one after Rick Rude decided to go after Jake's wife storyline wise. This is going to be a fun little feud up. So let's get to this one. So we just had Jake the Snake Roberts versus Rick Rude. This is a fun matchup. It's entertaining. It's bubbling on the feud because of what happened with Jake's wife and everything like that. And it's really interesting. To make it a double countout seems a little bit of a cheap loss, but it does carry on. They do carry on with it all and everything like that. So I can't really complain about the match itself in general. But the ending was a little bit of a lackluster. But then Jake grabs the snake and, puts it on Rick Rude's body. So it works perfectly like that. So our next matchup is Kin Haku taking on Sam Houston. So let's get to this one. So we just had Haku versus the jobber in Sam Houston. This was just a, Sam gets his offense in, but then Haku just hits him with a kick and headbutts him for the win. Let's be honest, people. So it was an entertaining matchup. It shows Haku being this undefeatable monster and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a fun matchup. So next up, we have the Ultimate Warrior and Bobby Heenan in a loser wears a weasel suit match. We all know who's going to win this one, but let's get to it. So we just had Ultimate Warrior and the Bobby the Brain Heenan in the loser wears a weasel suit match, and amazingly, Ultimate Warrior loses. No, I'm joking. Warrior wins, and Heenan is put in the weasel costume because that's where the nickname would come from in the mid to late 80s. So naturally, this was a progression of that, and it's one of those. Warrior putting the suit on him. They did lose the crowd a little bit, but they did manage to bring it back. Heenan just spinning around in the suit to try and get it off worked really well. It was entertaining, I'm not gonna lie. It was a good one. So yeah, it was a fun little matchup. It was it was a quick matchup, thank God. Warrior putting the suit on and Heenan getting out of it was a little bit longer than the match, but that's the whole point of it. So yeah. So, next up, for the WWF Tag Team Championships, we have the British Bulldogs taking on Demolition's Axe and Smash with Mr. Fuji. So, let's get to this one, shall we? Whoops, I pressed the wrong button. Let's get to this one. So, we just had Demolition versus the British Bulldogs for the tag team titles. This was a fun matchup. Obviously, Mr. Fuji being the manager of Demolition, some shenanigans was going to go on. But Fuji throws at the cane of Mr. Fuji, uses it on, I think it was Dynamite Kid, and that gets the win for Demolition. But again, very interesting tag team matchup, really fun, very well done, and again, just a fun matchup in general. So our semi-main event on this WrestleFest is going to be Dino Bravo versus Ken Patera. Okay, let's get to it. So we've just had Dino Bravo versus Ken Patera. The fans were happy for it. It was, it was one of these little matchups before the main event where you get, the bad guy wins and then the good guy wins at the end and stuff like that. So yeah, it was a fun matchup. Dino wins. It wasn't really anything special. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't good at the same time. It was just okay. So our final matchup of the night is going to be Hulk Hogan and Andre the Giant inside the steel cage. It's one of the main reasons why I wanted to watch this show, because I've never seen this match in the steel cage. I've seen it obviously for WrestleMania 3 and 4, but never knew that the steel cage. I could never find it with the steel cage. So yeah, to watch this, it's going to be fun. So let's do it. So we just had Hogan and Andre inside the steel cage, and the problem is you can believe Andre could climb the cage. But getting out and climbing, it's a little bit tough, especially with the limitations of the cage. However, it is a fun match. It's not their best match. I still think WrestleMania 3 is Hogan and Andre's best match, in my opinion. But this wasn't too bad. It wasn't, it wasn't a show-stealing match. It wasn't it wasn't like, my God, that's the match of the night. But it definitely was the main event. It was the right decision to have it in the main event. So there is that. It's an entertaining matchup, and the crowd is hyped for Hogan Andre again. So, what did I think of the show overall? Not bad. There were a couple of filler matches, like Bossman and Scott Casey, Haku and Sam Houston, but nothing really that I would scream, don't watch it. I would watch it, like, if you had time and you just needed a little bit of, you needed something in the background to watch, I'd put it on. Like I say, I'll have the link right there. I'll also have the link to Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach Part 2 up in the corner here. And over here will be, I believe, one of the shorts or just a random video right here from the channel. So, thank you very much for joining me for Season 4, Episode 23 of the Classic Wrestling Series. I will be back next week with next week's episode. I don't know what we're going to do for it because I'm not gonna lie, I'm kind of going away that week, so I might just do a watch-along match and just see what happens with that. I don't know, but I'll work that out soon. I might surprise you. So, thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next week. TTFN. Ta-ta for now.